Interview was filmed under strict lockdown rules. Some of the content you may find shocking.
Flatline rule means illegitimate, not allowed on the throne.
It may make you question your spiritual beliefs.
The biggest secret in the Catholic Church is that there were two Jesuses.
But the journalistic integrity of us presenting this in a truthful, non-biased way is very important to us. I hope you enjoy the show, and we'll see you for part 2.
March 2020. The coronavirus takes full effect in the United Kingdom, and 63 million people are forced into lockdown. London streets are quiet, but rumours about the royal family are ablaze. Civil unrest breaks out. No clear leadership. Seems like there's no hope. But what if there was a new king? A hidden king?
After a restricted journey across Europe, we made it to the secret film location and we got prepared. We were all a bit nervous shooting what possibly could be the biggest story of the 21st century. So when he arrived, I thought I'd go straight in for the question that was on everyone's minds.
You rolling? Yeah.
The Hidden King, take 1. With this ascension to the throne and the current situation with the coronavirus, is this all tied in with this internal battle in the USA?
Internal battles everywhere. It is the fulfillment of prophecy. The Jews have this prophecy where they have to destroy Europe before the Messiah comes. And Messiah just means someone whose earlier works are followed later. And all of these words have definitions like Lord, Christ, Messiah, Mashiach. Mashiach's born on a certain day during Rosh Hashanah after 7 years of certain events, which just happened to be my birthday and the time of my birth, which makes me King of Israel. Now, Israel's supposed to be run by a temple, not a government. Mm-hmm. So in acknowledgement of me being Mashiach, Israel has not been able to form a government in the last 17 months.
So is this all tied in with what you have to do as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've been working on this since 1988. I've been working on it since 1980. It's just a normal life. I grew up in New Zealand. Then when I was 5 and a half, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth II's doctor, called Sergeant Surgeon, he came out to New Zealand, invited my father to shear his sheep. Then on Sunday we went for cold meat sandwiches, sitting on my father's knee, and he said, "Why don't you take your son down to see King George VI's son in Rotorua?" So I did that, and my father dropped me off. He was in there, then he left, and I had a private audience with King George VI's son, George Fitzratimer, who was actually King George VII. And that was on the 10th of July 1967, and at the same time they changed the New Zealand currency from British pounds and pence to New Zealand dollars and cents. But they retained the old coin called a crown and kept it in New Zealand until 1971 in use, right? So they were, symbolically they were saying that the crown is retained in New Zealand. There were signs and symbols all the way through. So if we go back a bit to the coins, from the 23rd of April 1968, 9.5 months after my meeting with King George VI's son, natural biological son, the coins started to appear Elizabeth to Greg. And that went on, that was first on the 5p coin, actually before decimalisation, and then it was last on the £2 coin on the 10th of June 1998. And that was 11,011 days apart. And 11 means the letter M, so it's spelled M0M. So something was starting to happen. I was being brought in and named and symbolised and labelled as royal.
Greg speaks a lot about biblical prophecies, predictions, signs that have helped him on his journey. He's agreed to show us some of these signs today.
This is a prophecy marker. It's a stele. It's the disc stele, and it was put up in June 2000, and it predicts the day that I would arrive, pretty much within 6 days, and it shows the location from Jerusalem, and that location is 11 miles out.
Okay.
It's 2,222 miles to Jerusalem, and this says 2,211, and that 11 is a guide to rotate the disc mare 11 degrees, and then it's an exact match with the Sea of Galilee in the shape. And C, S-E-A, is homophonous with the Roman numeral C, which is 100, and the disc mare is exactly 100th the size of the Sea of Galilee.
Wow. You've worked all this out?
I just came across it one day and saw it, and it predicted how old I would be when I noticed it. And the coordinates on it are actually the coordinates of the Sizewell nuclear power station.
What?
Which is 21 nautical miles away. So the code is to size this up well, it's nuclear. So I had a look at this, I had a look at the disc mare, I related it to the Sea of Galilee, and then they built a structure over the water, which is a floating platform, exactly where the apostles left on the Sea of Galilee, and it does a right angle exactly where Jesus was standing on the water. It's like, size this up well, it's nuclear.
So what is something like this doing in a rural village in the middle of nowhere?
It's part of Christianity's oldest science called typology theology, which means that what happened then will happen in another place in some future time. And this stone, this stele, marks that future time and marks that location. And I'm going to show you just how involved that prophetic marking is. It's just unfolding like it's a glorious revolution, and it's a bloodless coup, and we're just getting rid of the old ways and the people doing the things in the old ways, and we're doing things in a new way, which is multi-dimensional from all angles, from all media, and it's just happening, and we all know it's happening, and not many people can put their finger on it, and not many people know what the causations are. One of the causations is that the British royal family has been flat-lie royal since 1840.
Explain that.
Flat-lie royal means illegitimate, not allowed on the throne. So, from the Battle of Waterloo, the British royal family lost all their money, and they've been funded by the Rothschilds in exchange for breeding rights. So the Rothschilds had the breeding rights to the British royal family from 1819 to 2019.
So what was the purpose of the Rothschilds needing this?
The British royal family were virtually bankrupt from 1815. So the Rothschilds funded the British royal family in exchange for the Rothschilds breeding the royals. So the whole British royal family are Rothschild Batards, and Batard is the royal name for bastard. So what I did in my legal documents is I exposed King George V of England as being sired by Tsar Alexander III of Russia, and I exposed Queen Elizabeth II as sired by artificial insemination by Winston Churchill, who was actually the illegitimate son of King Edward VII.
Hang on.
I know, it gets too much, so I'll show you a chart.
Okay, so you've got it all laid out for us to see?
Absolutely.
Greg has produced a chart showing a surprisingly different narrative of the royal lineage we've all become accustomed to.
So these legal documents that you've registered and given to the British royal family, you've also sent copy of these to various other world leaders?
America, Russia, Israel, England, plus
And
the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury.
And nobody contested these documents?
Well, they've accepted them all by passive acquiescence and cognitive avoidance, and they've put an estoppel in action on them, which means to stop due to the action, which is an admission. So the whole world has been acting on my documents, including the British royal family. They've acquiesced to my documents by removing their emblem off the Buckingham Palace gates, and by doing a Rex Abscondus, and the Queen has gone into hiding in Windsor Castle for the purpose of supposedly the coronavirus. But the coronavirus actually means we crown him in Latin, right? The whole world's closed down for Lent, the Pope's abdicated, the Queen's abdicated, and I've been named in movies, I've named myself in the documents with these titles, given the reasons and the history of why I have these titles, and it's been accepted. So I'm now getting phone calls from and interviews with American generals accepting me and putting me in place. Wow. And the whole world is acting on it, and people saying, how excited are you? And I'm going, actually, it just feels normal. It just feels, I've got no ego, super ego. I'm just walking a path, you know.
So you're just taking it all in your stride, really. You're just letting it all unfold.
It's like I was imbued with it. I literally was. I was imbued with this, and I was successively trained with it about every 2 years, you know, so it wouldn't go into overload. And I've been publishing this stuff for the last 18 years. It's in depth and it crosses all barriers and all.
Greg.
Yeah.
It's John.
Okay, cheers.
Hey.
How are you? How are you? You were in the middle of filming. Quickly.
I'm sorry. I just had to tell you something.
During our time filming with Greg, there were several occasions where he received phone calls giving him vital intel drops about the ongoing worldwide situation.
What he's going to tell me, or what he just told me right now, is that he's going to close down all accounts in the next couple of hours.
Oh, fantastic,
so,
fantastic.
Yeah, and he will for you. So that's pretty much the message for right now. That's all I want to say. Very positive.
Yeah.
So we're on our way, boy.
Yeah, yeah.
We're doing great. Okay, but I just wanted to get you that message. All right.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, John.
To the group. Bye.
Okay, bye. Sorry about that.
Well, man, I mean,
it happens all the time. I get intel drops all the time. And the world's ready now, and they just go, I understand symbols, I understand signs and symbols, I understand what he's doing, and I put it clearly in the legal documents, and that just spread like wildfire. I had 170,000 document downloads in 5 days.
wow.
You know, so we actually had to get a new server to cope with it, just that. And they're realising it's true, and the Royals are acting on it. They've disappeared. Prince Andrew's disappeared. Prince Harry's disappeared. The documentation I've presented to the Common Law Courts, Great Britain and International, includes the certified declaration of Queen Anne Boleyn's royal lineage and myself, Joseph Gregory Hallett, the certified declaration of Joseph Gregory Hallett, the Mashiach Christ Messiah and King of England. Affidavit in support of Joseph Gregory Hallett declares the illegitimate conception of King George V, United Kingdom, and the statement of claim in support of myself, declaring the patent ambiguity of Queen Elizabeth II's royal styles and titles. I also have a letter from Queen Victoria dated 17th of March 1850 to include all of Ireland, and it says, assemble him claimant. It's the most valuable royal mark in the British Empire.
It's such an incredible story, but it's very difficult to put it in terms that most people can understand it.
Well, what's actually going to happen is the crown and the orb and the sceptre and the sword are going to be left on the throne. The gates are going to be open. I'm going to walk in and I'm going to sit down on the chair. Someone's going to put the crown on my head, take a photo, and we're going to send that around the world, and then we'll have a ceremony later.
Wow.
That's actually what's going to happen.
It seems very
it's a total acquiescence, right?
Yeah.
It's just total acquiescence. The whole British royal throne and crown of England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, Britain, Great Britain, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and the United Kingdom of Great Britain and all Ireland, and all of the Commonwealth is just acquiescing. It's fantastic. We're looking at the biggest coup in history because we've also got the acquiescence of the Catholic Church.